Hello, and thanks for coming along to And We Have an Office Dog, the digital agency podcast where we talk to agency owner-directors and learn more about what makes them tick. From the things that make them similar to the things they'd rather have known sooner, where they've had success and where they've learned some hard lessons. All will be revealed with your host, Chris Simmons, the agency coach, and he'll be talking to a different awesome agency person in each episode, asking them 4 questions and seeing where the conversation takes us over the next 25 minutes. Okay, so let us begin. Over to you, Chris.
Thanks, voiceover guy. And on the podcast today, we're very lucky. We've got 2 agency leaders on one episode. We've got Alfie and Sarah from Zumo. Hello, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Thank you very much. We finally got there. We booked and rebooked, and I moved it and you moved it, and we got here eventually. This will be live in 2025, I think, at this rate.
We did get there eventually.
So tell us a little bit about yourselves, obviously individually, and then kind of a bit about the agency. You never know, there might be a potential client listening to these things. So what do you do, what you're great at, and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I'm Sarah Carr. I co-founded Zumo Agency with Alfie. We're a personal branding, marketing, and website development agency. So yeah, hot on
Nice.
track that one.
And Alfie, how much of the personal branding and website stuff do you do? Is there a dichotomy between the two of you in terms of role? Who does what in the business?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I'm kind of default MD by accident, and what I really do is more sort of business development, sales training, that kind of stuff for our clients. Sarah heads up all of that side in terms of personal branding. We have another chap that works with us that does the web development stuff. But yeah, I am just the resident annoying individual that makes people buy stuff.
Well, I was told at the beginning of this podcast that just before you joined the recording studio, actually, that you sometimes like to be a bit of a troll. So let's see where that takes us. So, sorry.
You got to keep it fresh and real.
Exactly. Otherwise, it's just boring, isn't it? So how long's the agency been running?
So we founded actually in January. Kind of conceptualized it prior to that and hit the ground running with that.
Wow. So you've not been going for a huge amount of time. I feel like I've seen you guys all over the place for a long time, a lot longer than so far this year.
That's the beauty of a personal brand.
There we go. Well done.
So we've got a backstory as to why we started then. So we both kind of individually owned our own agencies. And then Alfie and our friend Kieran moved in upstairs, and we're like, oh, we're kind of in the same field. Should we create a baby? And then Zoom was born. So we kind of merged forces in that sense, and it's been literally a rocket ship ever since. So yeah.
That's amazing. Is there anything that's like been a standout success since you started?
We're working with some really big, heavy-hitting LinkedIn influencers currently, so we're literally right out the gate already hands deep in some good areas. So I can't say too much stuff pending, obviously, but yeah.
I like how you said hands deep and not balls deep.
Yeah. Right. I thought maybe that's that's an Americanism version of it. I don't know.
We say balls to the wall, so that's more.
Okay. I mean, that sounds an awful lot more painful.
It does.
I wouldn't know.
So, Alfie, what do you reckon? Like from your side of the business, what's been one of the kind of the biggest successes that you've felt so far?
Yeah, well, like Sarah said, it's been way more successful than we ever imagined. I think, putting 3 brains together in terms of sales, business development, marketing, personal branding, and web development, UX, UI is just the perfect cocktail for any kind of agency. And it's there's been a lot of successes. There've been a lot of sort of downsides as well in terms of what we thought we may be able to do, a bit of realignment. But I'd say in terms of successes, probably our media partnerships. So we've just signed a 3-year deal with City AM, Bloomberg, and Forbes for to be their exclusive media partner for personal branding, and for a lot of their video content as well, and distribution within LinkedIn and social media. So for us and our clients, that's huge. So that's probably been our biggest success. But like Sarah said, I mean, we are a new agency, but we're not in terms of where we are
Yeah.
as individuals. We just thought it'd be better to let our worlds collide in terms of future thinking and where we're going. So, we don't like to call ourselves a startup, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. The term startup's been co-opted somewhat by techie businesses that want money for free and off a PowerPoint. So I get it.
Yeah.
You aren't really a startup. You've been several businesses that have merged into one. Well, it sounds like a monster in the making, given what you just said there. Or kind of already is a monster based on that nice deal that you just let us know about. I'm interested. Send me a rate card.
Yeah, it's obviously my background. I mean, just to give you a bit more information, has always been in media. So I've come out of a career with Bloomberg and Forbes, and after a few years, kind of realised, hang on a minute, why the fuck am I doing this for them when the clients work with me, not with Bloomberg, if that makes sense. So it's been a long time in the making, and we've just literally hit the button on it, and it's just skyrocketed. But funnily enough, we were always worried about, is this going to come back to bite us, taking these clients away from these big organizations? But it turns out, no. It turns out they want to work with us even more. It tends to be that, individuals want to work with people, not with businesses.
Yes, and that's one of the beautiful things about the independent agency is that it's people buying from people who work with people to deliver things for people, which makes it a lot nicer. Like you can enjoy your life somewhat more if you're working for human beings, should we say, rather than the logo and the accounts payable department.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned something that, there's that mantra that a lot of people live by, which is people buy from people. And I hate that. I absolutely hate it. I think it's utter rubbish. People don't buy from people. They buy from people like them. So this is why what we do works so well is because there's three different personalities in our business in terms of what we're capable of and what we actually do. So there's always a fit for whoever we're working with. People don't just buy from people.
So how did the three of you come up with Zumo Agency then? What were the iterations that came out of that? Where did that?
Yeah. Tell the story about the name.
Again, this is another thing. Too many businesses get hung up on a logo and branding and amazing colors and all that. It's all irrelevant, really. I think we were spending a bit of time thinking about logo and branding, and I went shopping in Watford one day and saw a juice bar called Zumo and thought, that'll do.
Cool.
As it was born.
Yeah, I think Zumo means juice in Spanish or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter what it means unless it means something to you and then to the people that are buying from you or the people that recognize it. It's what your brand's what people say about you when you're not in the room, so to speak.
I mean, who cares? I mean, do you know what one of the biggest brands in the world, Nike? Do you know what that means? What that is?
It's the Greek goddess, isn't it? I can't remember.
Yeah, but I bet, if you asked 80% of their consumers, they wouldn't have a clue. They're more interested in the products than what the brands.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Yeah. So if you were to, Sarah, if you were to go back in time to when this behemoth kind of joined forces, what piece of advice might you give to yourself?
Choose hiring the right people correctly, because we've had a couple bad eggs already, just a couple months running in. It's one of those things that...
Let's hope they're not listening.
It's fine. It could be one of those things where they give a stellar interview and you get them into the role and they've oversold themselves in terms of capability or understanding of general marketing terms, and just one of those things that you have to kind of vet somebody prior to really hiring them and then getting them in the door, especially with the quote unquote startup, because we don't have a lot of time to sit there and faff around with people who maybe aren't up to the job description. So,
and it's expensive.
The biggest, most expensive lesson we've learned so far is
people businesses.
So yeah.
And what about you, Alfie? What would be some advice that you might have given yourself a good few months ago?
Probably it would be earn money first and worry about vanity things later. I imagine, when we started, we were, think about what kind of office we're going to get, how many people we're going to hire, do we need this accountant, do we need this cool stuff, all this really cool equipment. And then one day I sat there and thought, hang on a minute, we're only doing 10K a month. Why the fuck do we need a nice office in Farringdon? Those kind of things. So I think, the more money that we've earned, the more revenue that we've generated, we've actually pulled back on those things. It's kind of strange. So I wish I'd done that initially.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, isn't it? There's a balance because you've got to get the money in. Totally get it. Totally agree. You've got to build something that's going to stand the test of time. And as you grow, having systems and processes and things like that are really important. Having a fancy office in Farringdon, not going to do very much in the short term, and probably not going to do very much until you need a fancy office in Farringdon to fit all of the lovely people that you've definitely hired correctly who really want to come back to the office and not work from home.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's been kind of weird because as soon as we started exploring the option of really expensive offices, we bagged these deals with those publications where we have free access to their offices, meeting rooms, and we compete with that kind of stuff. You're talking about the Shard and like London Bridge and stuff like that. It's like, come on, it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, there's some hard lessons in there, some financial lessons. I mean, you don't really learn a lesson unless it's very painful. And it was.
There is a theme amongst agency owners that most lessons aren't learned from a book; they're learned from the book hitting you in the face.
Oh, absolutely.
So, is there anything that apart from like the false starts with some of the hirings, is there anything that you guys learned quite quickly that has now become a written rule, should we say, in the business? Is there something that kind of you've realised you go, oh shit, I'm not going to do that again?
Do you want me to answer that one, sir?
Yeah, I think honing in on what's trendy. Obviously, personal branding is so hot and trending, and we're one of those things where I never intended to be in the personal branding space. And just having done it for myself, I realized the value in it. And then clients started coming to us and asking, can we do this? This is it. And we're like, yes, this is the niche that we've always been needing to go in. And we finally pulled the trigger on that. And so probably that. And then I think we've kind of got obviously these blue chip media corporations that we work with, which are not seeing a lot of personal branding agencies pair up with. So we've got a capitalization on the market in that sense that a lot of other people don't have. So I think, yeah.
Got it.
It's trendy, obviously, get your feet in. And if it scares you, probably for the best. So
if it's scary, it's probably a good thing in the long run, hopefully.
Yeah.
Unless it's a like an alligator or something, because it's not going to do very good in the long run. What about you, Alfie? What lesson? Sorry?
Alligator wrestlers.
Yeah, I mean there are some of those people. I mean, again, they probably learned the hard way what it feels like when they lose. So, what about you, Alfie? What hard lessons have you found in the since starting the agency that you've rather than kind of chalking up to a bad experience, they've become something that's really carrying you forward now?
I mean, look, with marketing, because I haven't specifically been in the marketing field myself before, particularly within personal branding and that kind of stuff, it's been more on the sort of sales side and revenue generation. So stepping into the marketing world was kind of weird for me because you've got marketers, then you've got marketers, if that makes sense. You've got marketers that are very good just because of talent, and then marketers who have just learned marketing through some kind of weird university degree or course or some bullshit thing that they've done. And it's those people that kind of give what we're doing a bad name because people step in with, preconceptions and a lot of people chasing vanity metrics, which is very difficult for me to comprehend because, from a business development role, you either make money, you don't make money. That's what you're judged on, those kind of revenue results. So, trying to work with people and steer them away from vanity metrics has been quite a difficult lesson for me to learn. Some people just want to look good. And it was difficult at first for us to say no to working with these people because we won't necessarily work with people that we can't get results for. Because looking good only works for a certain amount of time, and then they start turning around and saying, "Hey, look, where's my revenue increase?"
Yeah.
So we having to say no to those people is quite fun, but also quite annoying. So yeah, I think one of the biggest lessons for me has been learning to pay attention to different aspects of marketing, ones that are good and ones that are bad, and having to deal with individuals and organizations that have had a terrible experience with marketers before. They're promising so
The
much
list
stuff.
of them are quite long. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you see it on LinkedIn every single day, and it drives me nuts. But we won't get into that. But there's that old saying, isn't it? I mean, you can't really learn marketing. I suppose you can learn skills within marketing, but it's something you're either good at or something you're either not at. And doing a university degree in marketing is almost like going to university and learning how to be charismatic. It doesn't make sense.
There's there's a lot of the process of marketing which is learnable, but the empathy and the emotional intelligence required to be good at it is usually an innate thing, which I think you either can or you can't do. And that's why if you look at digital marketing agencies in particular who do SEO or something like that, you very quickly see the people branching from one, say, content into technical SEO or development instead of design. And designers are more empathetic and understand how people feel when they look at something. Developers typically look at how to engineer something, and there's a lot less kind of emotion required, I guess.
This is it. I mean, I spend a lot of time almost interviewing marketers and speaking to marketers within businesses that we're working with. And, you'll be shocked. I always ask them, a question. I look at a particular campaign that they've done or that they've tried to spin up or something. And I say to them, what has led to that person actually buying something, making a purchase or deciding to sign up with one of your solutions? Why did they buy this particular thing? And 9 times out of 10, they'll go, well, I don't know. They just liked what it is that I'm selling them. They liked what it is that we're doing. And I just find that really baffling. And it still goes on within marketing. It's like asking, high court judge, how does the high court work? And he goes, I don't know. I just turn up every day and, I just say guilty, it's not guilty. It makes absolutely no sense. But what are you doing? So that's difficult. And again, it's difficult for me. Sarah's probably a bit more used to it, but coming from an industry where the results are pretty black and white. You do your job, you increase revenue. You don't do your job properly, the revenue doesn't increase. So it's trying to bridge that gap for me. It's still quite difficult, but luckily I've got support from these guys.
Yeah, I think Sarah, you must see this an awful lot where people want to be want to influence to a degree, and they want a personal brand, or they want to become a personal brand in some way or another. And they might not necessarily have what it takes to be able to do that. And quite a lot of it, I think, is consistency.
Yeah, we see that a lot on LinkedIn, don't we? But I think I come from the understanding that any awareness is good, and that will eventually generate the revenue organically. So I often say to Alfie, it's not always about the ROI, although sometimes he's like, yes, it is. And you always kind of have that little.
I still think it is.
And the sense that marketing it's awareness, and it is that branding, and it is people recognize you, and then they find you reputable, then they want to give their money over to you. So I think it's that whole journey process through marketing, where you can't always get hung up on the end results. Us as marketers never promise or guarantee results, although that is our job. We should be bringing those in. I think a lot of it gets forgotten in the sense that you have to be good at branding. You have to be good at charisma and understanding people and what's the problem you're trying to solve, and bringing that awareness and that quote unquote influence to the people that are, yes, I want to get my profile out there so people find me trustworthy. So I think my job is to understand that whole process and bring all those kind of parts to it, and then obviously bring the ROI, which is bottom line. That's obviously important. So
the ROI is going to be your lagging measure of success. The leading measures will be, how quickly, how many impressions someone gets, or what their level of engagement is, or how many people recognize them or engage with them or mention them and all that sort of stuff. How many people come up to you at an event and say, I saw you online. And
you're on LinkedIn.
Exactly. And those will be the leading measures that should indicate, the future success. And from a sales point of view, if your lead to close speed is increased, and it's around the time that the impressions and engagement has gone up, then it's a sure sign that the ROI should go up, unless the salesperson's not good at closing it. And if you're the same person selling as you are influencing, then you need to maybe learn how to sell as well as market.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, is teaching our clients. We can give you these amazing profiles with all the impressions and all the awareness and put you in publications. But at the end of the day, are you good at your job enough to close the deal and get that over the line when we bring it to your table?
Absolutely.
So again, it's like vetting our clients, and does that really work for us? If you're not getting the results because you can't do your job when we've done ours, who's really to blame here?
So if there's someone listening to this right now and they're thinking about starting their own agency, Alfie, what would be your one piece of advice you'd give them?
Pay attention.
Is that for me? So, sorry.
No. Well, for you. Well, for all the aspiring agency owners or people out there that want to get involved in this weird industry, is pay attention. And what I mean by that is pay attention to how and why people spend money. So, pay attention to the process, the thought process in terms of an individual parting with their money to buy a product or service. So, for example, when you buy a coffee, we buy a coffee every single morning. We walk past a coffee shop. Pay attention to how it is that you're spending your money. Why are you spending it? What's pushing you to actually parting with that cash? And, what's allowing that person to take money from you? Everyone uses that term earn money, but no one earns money. You can't earn money. You can't make money. Only the Bank of England can print money. You're kind of just taking it. It's moving from one place to another. So what's causing that transaction? I think that's key to where you start out in a marketing business, is understanding those processes. And then you can help to implement those processes and mindset changes into your clients' mindsets as well. I think too many people are kind of focused on the end result, the revenue, but how did you get there? Analyze every single movement within that one individual's process to how they actually part with their money and repeat it. But that would be my main piece of advice. And unless you've got that nailed down, don't bother starting an agency. It's not going to work.
Fair enough. Sarah, what about you? What's your one piece of advice?
I think understanding the problem for people, to then you can go and solve it. Because if you're not listening to your customers and the problems that they're having, how are you developing as an agency to problem solve and eventually get them the results that they want? And customer service comes first. I think that goes hand in hand with that, and really just trying to understand and empathize with where they are as a business so you can help them. So
first seek to understand before you can be understood, and the understood bit will be the marketing piece in the middle.
The wise one from Chris.
Wise words. That's a caption there somewhere.
Are you starting to feel the yin and yang approach?
I'm literally about to ask a question. Expose this. So, Sarah, what's your favorite thing about working with Alfie?
The constant banter.
Oh.
And trolling.
Alfie, same question to you.
Yeah, I think it's just going back to that yin and yang thing. I think, I've got a very straightforward and blunt approach to doing things in terms of getting results.
I haven't noticed.
Yeah, I mean, look, getting results for clients, it's pretty straightforward. Problem, solution. I think Sarah brings a much more human touch to it in terms of being able to expand on those solutions, to be able to create a narrative and a story and things like that. And so, Sarah's incredibly good at doing that. And that's something I'm not fantastic at. But I think one of the key things, another bit of advice to the agency owners or agency people wanting to start an agency, is understanding what it is that you're not good at and then trying to find help to fill those gaps.
Absolutely. So if it wasn't going to be a surprise, it is probably going to be a surprise now. Sarah, what's the worst thing about working with Alfie?
Whoa, there's a long list.
Probably the trolling. There's so many comments he tries to leave on the influencers' LinkedIn posts, and I'm like, no, delete. And I gave him his own Twitter account. I kind of set it up for him and let him troll with it. And eventually we had to rein that back and have a couple of discussions about that and copying people's posts and understanding the ethics of the platforms that we're headed into as people who are going to be high profile soon. So learning the ropes in that sense.
It's your turn to let rip.
Probably the accent.
Harsh.
Terrible.
Yeah. Super positivity. I don't know. No, I mean, look, there's not a lot. Otherwise, we just wouldn't work together.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably the accent.
Well, fair enough. Racism aside, thank you very much for coming on.
Xenophobia.
Every day he calls me out on the way that I pronounce words as if it's wrong. And I just say, us Americans finesse the English language. We made it better. You're welcome. And so then I hand it back to him and say,
There we go. That's
"What
fair
now?"
enough. That's the banter aspect,
I can
right?
see that hurt you, Chris, as well, listening to that.
To be fair.
Um, Sarah, Alfie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Hopefully we'll have you back in a year or so's time to talk about how far to the moon you've gone, judging by so far this year. Probably quite a lot of the way there and probably most of the way back, I'd imagine as well. So thank you very much for coming on, and hopefully speak to you soon.
You're welcome,
Thank
Chris.
you. Let's do it.
And in our next episode, we'll be speaking with another agency leader to hear their story and the lessons they learned along the way. Thanks very much for listening.